Would you help me and Bump in the Road get to 500 subscribers? It takes literally a second and costs you nothing, and it helps the podcast enormously. Subscribe right below. Thank you. Veronica Bubenikova transformed her life and is transforming the lives of others. Her journey started with a breast cancer diagnosis, which challenged the very perfectionist corporate trajectory that she was on professionally. What does one control when confronted with your own mortality? A lot, it turns out. This is a terrific conversation about one woman's quest for health and for meaning. It's a conversation about personal transformation for all of us. Veronica, welcome to Bump in the Road. If you would, tell us your story.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome. It's a really honor to be here. And my story started with a lumpy breast when I discovered that something's not quite right. And actually, I maybe revert a little bit back because just before I found myself in that situation, I was very much questioning my life purpose because I was on a steep career path in product management and had kind of the line in front of me clear about where I'm stepping to, but I felt like there was something missing from my life, and that was a purpose in terms of, one day when I look back, I don't want to feel like I wasted my life. I wanted to create something that could benefit to other people. But I couldn't quite grasp what it was because all I did was the product management software. So it's very far from like this soft, purposeful work. Of course, I enjoyed it, but there was something deeper inside me that was ticking and knocking on the door. And I even went for a course that was about diving into the soul purpose and discovering the soul purpose. And it was only a few days after when I found the lumpy breast. And shortly after, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So, of course, my life fell apart. But at the same time, there was something that, like a really inner power that awakened deep within, saying, okay, you've got this. Like, I am going to heal. I don't know how, but I will do anything to heal. And as I was starting to process this, it got me back to that life purpose. And I thought, well, maybe this happened to me for a reason. Maybe I will be able to help others once I've been through my own journey. So I really invested in my own healing journey, not only because of the survival, which was the first driver, but also about discovering more holistic path and looking at the situation, not from the medical perspective, but from why this happened to me at the first place. Is there anything I can learn from this? Is there anything more I can explore? So I embarked on first discovering how to support myself physically with nutrition and detoxification and so on. But also because I was around spiritual and personal growth since I was around 18, always was interested into topic, but life got busy, so it wasn't quite like embedded in my life every day, but it was always there. And I knew from my previous interests that there are on emotional and spiritual level, there are causes of any imbalances in the body. So I was interested into topics like, for example, a book from Louise Hay about the relationship between the emotional side of things and our subconscious and potential developing an illness. So that was one of the key things that I was discovering throughout that journey, and it was a really key part of my healing journey. So one was the physical element, but then it was the self-awareness, digging deeper into how I feel, what I actually want from life, and what potentially could lead to any imbalance in my body, and anything that I need to process or I need to bring to the surface to work on and to move forward.
I think that initial decision to take charge is the single most important decision somebody can make. Because when you decide to take charge, now you have agency. Getting sucked into the healthcare system, there's not a lot of agency there. At least here in the States, there isn't. How would you say your life is different before breast cancer and now?
I value the time I have more than before, because before I took everything for granted. I didn't think about being in a situation that suddenly the time here is limited. Of course, we all know that the time, or all of our time is limited on this planet, but it's not like until we feel it in our bones, literally, how it feels to face our mortality, that it kind of like really sinking in. So it was very like knowing something or knowing of something is different than feeling it deep inside. So now I know that tomorrow is not granted, and that I need to live according to what makes me fulfilled and what makes me happy. Of course, I still need to do things I don't want to do, but it is when I make any decisions, I make them based on, well, is it what I really want to do for the rest of my life? Is it really what is right for me? Whether before I just followed the path that was kind of lined up in front of me without questioning and exploring other alternatives.
You know what's interesting about trying to find what's right for you? It's not based on degrees and it's not based on titles. It's based on deeper, like emotional, spiritual definitions. I mean, are you a kind person? Are you a giving person? How would you describe yourself? And how does that lend itself into a different, very nonlinear path compared to the path we're all kind of, corralled into?
Yes, yeah. I think before I kind of I went with the flow. Mm-hmm. Whether now I really pay attention to how I feel after doing something, how I feel after interacting with these people, how can I do something that will make change in someone else's life. And it can be bigger things, but it can be also small things, like smiling at someone who might have a miserable day. So it's doing things maybe more consciously rather than before being like just in the flow without much direction.
Do you think there's a greater attention on energy and energy flows when you start living more consciously?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How do you experience that?
Because like before, and it's still within me, I think it's part of my personality, is that I'm quite a hyperachiever. And therefore I easily sway into like pushing for the next thing and the next thing, and ticking these boxes and achieving new things and new goals. And actually, it's been, I think it has gradually become more and more prominent when I realized that when I let the things flow, and I'm open to what's coming rather than kind of plan every step and micromanaging like every step of my journey, that's where the like unexpected things start happening in my life. Unexpected conversations, connections with people, and also the connections and the conversations, everything's more on a deeper level. So I think when we get into this space, I think there are things that no longer resonate, like shallow conversations or something that's just not meaningful. So I think that's what how I experience it.
When you look back, what did you most need to heal?
What sorry, what was the question?
What did you most need to heal?
What I most needed to heal? There was so I think that overarching theme was self-love and self-care, because I neglected my needs. I was frustrated a lot of times, overstressed, overworked, not being able to express myself. And this journey suddenly, because it was such an important thing to actually stand up for myself and to make sure that I'm on top of my healing journey, and that I need to take responsibility, and I need to look at what my life was before and what's maybe not working, and what I need to look into and work on, and where the main shifts need to be. It was a lot around the self-love, and being able to feeling that I deserve, whether it's to be healed or deserving love. So there were things popping from childhood, rejections, feeling unsupported, not understood, that then kept as a pattern repeating in my life, whether it was working relationships or personal relationships. So these were the themes that came throughout the healing journey as the main healing things.
I don't know if you ever read Dean Ornish's study on men with prostate cancer. It's a little dated now. It was published around 2008, but he did a really interesting study. And he took a bunch of men with prostate cancer and he divided them into two groups. Are you familiar with this?
No,
Okay.
no,
So
no.
one group went to lifestyle boot camp, one did not. The group that went to lifestyle boot camp had to manage their stress, change their diets, get into a healthy, real food kind of diet. Community, they had to like talk to each other, and they had to institute some sort of regular exercise. And the other group did nothing different than what they were doing. The results were astounding. The people who went to lifestyle boot camp did well. Nobody
Mm.
needed any further intervention. And well, this was only a study with a limited number of people with prostate cancer, et cetera, et cetera. I personally think that study has so much import for all of us.
It certainly has, and it's interesting because I recently moved to Malta and made connections here with people who are around breast cancer, and it is interesting that here it's almost like they are more open to this being in integrative approach to really that the exercise, the lifestyle is really really key, and then the emotional side of things, and the connections and feeling of belonging is really, really important. Whether I have to say, like when I was going through the treatment in the UK, although I received amazing care, things were very disconnected, and I was told like you can eat anything, and then of course you go into those studies and you do the research, and you find actually the lifestyle is really, really key. And what I can see also, I think when we nourish our body and we eat healthy food, it also has the impact on the mood and on the energy that we radiate. Like when we eat more like processed food and a lot of meat, then they even I don't think it was a study, but there was an article about that more food like that we eat, that it's not just about the mood, but that we have a more like aggressivity and anger in ourselves energetically, because of how the animals are treated. So energetically, that goes to that when we eat animal that was very stressed and was kept in bad conditions, not only physically, it might have some hormones in that meat, but also energetically, we eat that the betrayal or that the emotions that the animal was exposed to. So on energetic level, that also like lowers our vibrations. And so it's not just the physical part, but also the mental and emotional part that's impacted by what we eat.
Yeah, David Servet Shriver wrote about that, and it makes total sense when you think about it. And yet, if you look at the masses of meat and everything that are required for society and how they're slaughtered, it's really pretty awful.
Yeah, yeah.
How has your diet changed?
My diet changed really drastically because like I went into survival mode and I made a huge change in my diet. I remember the first few days, I wasn't quite sure what I can eat and what I can't, or what I wanted to eat or what I couldn't, because I hadn't done the research yet, and I wasn't really sure. I did have one friend who was quite aware of a lot of things around the food and healthy diet, so she was a big inspiration to me as well. But like the first few days, I ate just vegetable, fruit, and nuts because I wasn't sure what else I should eat. But then I obviously start finding like more variety of food. So the things I eliminated straight away was refined sugar. So I still had sugar, like naturally occurring sugars, like from fruit. And then the other thing was eliminating dairy because of the lymphatic system. So that because dairy can clog the lymphatic system. So I wanted to keep it as clean as possible. I stopped eating meat. I did eat fish from time to time. But mostly it was plant-based diet, and then later everything organic, natural, from local sources. So as clean as possible.
Did your doctors support these sorts of decisions, or did you just do them totally outside of the medical community?
I did it outside of because my oncologist told me, oh, you can eat anything. And I thought, that doesn't quite sound right, but
Mine said eat sugar,
So I did find, like, thanks to that friend who was quite educated in that area. So thanks to her, I discovered like healthier alternatives to have a chocolate that's not dairy, but it doesn't have like anything artificial, and it used coconut blossom sugar. So I found like a alternative of things that I would like, that I could still have, that was still good for, obviously in some like moderation, but it was still a good alternative to like the unhealthy type of food.
Yeah, the hardest thing I found, being by myself, I could keep a very clean diet. I went vegan at one point, but I was miserable without cheese. So I decided that I could let a little bit of cheese, a little bit of dairy back in my life. But the thing that was a really difficult adjustment was going out socially because you look at the menu, everything's mystery meat. You can usually find a salad or something. But for many years, I really struggled with that. And in more recent times, I've given myself a little more leeway to just enjoy things a bit because my diet is clean. So if I have one meal that's not, it's not the end of the world.
And I completely agree with that. And, you know, even when I worked with ladies who are going through this journey, I always say choose the diet that resonates with you. And it doesn't mean you have to do 100%. There are people who say you have to do 100% or none. I think it's just be wired in different ways. I believe that doing 80% clean diet is better than not doing it at all.
Hmm.
And also, like, it was like my decision to not eat meat and dairy, but equally, I believe that it doesn't even matter if it's a meat or dairy, but it's about thinking that we eat what we ate. So essentially, is that chain of how, you know, is this meat or the cheese from a good source, or is it from a mass-produced factory where potentially it looks like cheese, but it's very
Yeah.
processed and everything. So I think it's you know, it's not as clear, like simple as, or just do vegan diet and that's it. Because I also believe that a lot of vegan food is actually highly processed and it's not good for us either. So I think it's finding the right balance and what suits us.
What did you do for stress management? Did you address that? Because I think stress is just part of life, and nobody teaches us how to deal with this.
Yes, so I was overstressed before I was diagnosed. I was on that steep career path, and it was because I changed. So I received another job offer at that time, and it was almost like I let the stress go of the previous job when I then got diagnosed, almost like something got released, and then suddenly the problems appeared. But it was definitely a big part, because I then felt like how much. And I think it was also the realization of the shock. Suddenly, you know, I'm facing breast cancer, and the problems and the things that stressed me before were actually weren't that big problems, and I could have managed them because I put the stress on myself at work, because I wanted to do, like, I'm perfectionist and I wanted to everything be to high standard, and I put pressure on myself, on others, and I think I didn't help myself by that. And so I think that was one of the realization, that eliminating the stress that I'm putting on myself, because that was a big part of the stress management, is that was for me that that actually I can eliminate the stress by realizing that maybe I don't have to do everything 150%.
You know, I think a lot of us are perfectionists, and perfectionism goes to control. And one of the things that cancer teaches you is you really have very little control. And I think
Absolutely.
that's kind of one of those big life lessons that I'm not sure I've totally figured out yet.
And yeah, and I think that's what helped me, because I needed to feel in control. And obviously, when I was diagnosed, everything was outside of my control. So I felt like really like fortunate that I can choose my diet, and that I can explore new avenues and spiritual healing, and mind programming and all these things, because it gave me the sense of that I have control of some parts of the journey.
I think that sense of having some control is really important. I don't think there are any easy answers to any of this, actually. But if you could give people three pieces of advice, women facing breast cancer, what three pieces of advice would you give them?
So for women facing breast cancer or diagnosed freshly with breast cancer, would be the advice: never rely just on the medical professionals. You know, they are there to save the lives, and they are experts in what they do, but they see it from their perspective. They don't see, most of the times in Western medicine, they don't see the whole human being with their emotions, with their spiritual connection or disconnection, with the mental side of things. Of course, there are things like they recommend, going through charity and get some mental support or emotional support. That everything's a bit disconnected. So I think one of the things that, as a piece of advice, would be to try to get in control of the things that we can control and make the positive changes where we can make the positive changes. So to really look after the diet, where potentially toxins can come from, and then giving themselves the space to be. The positive thinking is not about being positive all the time, but it is always coming back to and recentering, to focusing on healing rather than on the illness.
Anything else come to mind that you'd want to pass along?
Anything else? Well, I think I just summarized that, and I just got to so another point would be to don't be afraid to ask for help, because I think many of us suffers from, we are independent and we want to do everything ourselves, and I think this is the situation when it's time to ask others for help. And it's about also defining what we need, because sometimes we don't ask for help even because we actually don't know what it is that we need. And that's what I see when I speak to ladies who have been diagnosed with breast cancer, that they offered help, but they kind of don't know what it is that would help them, because they get into this survival mode, and I've got this, and I'm on the mission, and I'm continuing my journey, and it kind of stops and blocks the feelings that need to come out at some point, and they sooner or later they will come out. So I think giving yourself the space to really be who you are and what you feel, without being unapologetic about it. Just be how you feel you are.
And we have a great podcast here. I bet you are a really good cancer coach.
In what?
I bet you are a very good cancer coach.
Yeah, so, well, I don't know, you would have to ask my client.
We have a great
But
podcast. No, go ahead.
I certainly put everything in it, and always trying to give the ladies the nudge to explore new avenues, to not just stick where they are, but to explore something that maybe they didn't do before, and experiment even during their journey. And one of my key mottos is that whatever we decide to do, we have to decide to do it from a place of love, not from a place of fear, because I think that's where some of the transformations kind of I don't I don't think they fail, but it's just they don't complete and they don't move to, they don't transform because if I decide to change my diet because I'm scared that I don't know, my cancer will come back, then of course when I break the rules that I set for my diet, then I will feel guilty, and then it will get me in a spiral of really like negative emotions. So whatever we do, that's why I'm quite open to the diet changes. It's just listening to what resonates with everyone the most. So that's when I work or when I speak first time with even potential clients. I always say, no matter if you're going to work with me or with someone else, always listen to your intuition and to your gut feel, because that will help you to decide what's best for you. Every journey is completely different.
You know, it's interesting what you say about intuition. If you look back, if you make an intuitive decision, it usually works out. It's when you ignore your intuition that you get into trouble.
Yeah. Yes.
One of those things they don't teach you in school.
Unfortunately, or not yet, maybe one day.